Episode 1, The Map Appears.
They say some places don't belong to this world. I never believed it until I found the map. That's when everything changed. One minute, I was just digging through old junk in a forgotten attic, and the next, I held a map that didn't just show places, it showed time itself. The lines weren't just roads or rivers, they twisted and folded like they were alive. I should have thrown it away. I should have walked away. But curiosity? It's a dangerous thing. And now, I'm on a path I can't turn back from. Because this map? It's not just a guide. It's a key. A key to a city lost beyond time. And someone is desperate to keep it hidden. I stared at that map like it was some kind of puzzle from another world. The lines shifted under my eyes, almost like they were breathing. I traced a finger along one of the twisted paths, and suddenly, a chill ran down my spine. This wasn't just a map, it was a warning. I should have known better. But the moment I touched it, I felt something else, like a pull, a tug at the edges of reality. I heard footsteps behind me. Not the creak of the old house settling, but deliberate, slow steps. Someone was coming. I grabbed the map and slipped it into my jacket. Heart pounding, I moved toward the door, but it slammed shut before I could reach it. The room grew colder, shadows stretching longer. "Who's there?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. No answer. Just silence. Then, a whisper, soft, almost too faint to hear. "The map must never leave this place." I swallowed hard. This was bigger than I thought. And now, I was part of it. I had to get out. I had to find out what this map really meant. But most of all, I had to stay alive. Because whatever was coming for me, it wasn't just after the map. It was after me. I didn't waste a second. I yanked the door open, the old hinges groaning like they were warning me to stay. But I wasn't about to listen. I bolted down the creaky stairs, the map burning a hole in my jacket pocket. Outside, the night was thick with fog, the kind that swallows sound and blurs the world. I could feel eyes on me watching, waiting. Whoever was after that map wasn't just some random stranger. They knew what it was, and they'd do anything to get it back. I ducked into the shadows, heart hammering, every breath sharp in the cold air. The city was a maze, but I knew a few places where I could hide, at least for a little while. But hiding wasn't enough. I had to understand the map. I had to find that lost city before they did. Because this wasn't just a treasure hunt. It was a race against time itself. I found a quiet corner in an old bookstore, the kind of place where dust hangs heavy and time feels like it's standing still. I spread the map out on a worn wooden table, the edges curling like ancient parchment. The lines still seemed to shift, but now I noticed something new, tiny symbols, almost like a code. I pulled out my phone, snapping pictures, trying to capture every detail. But the more I looked, the more I realized this map wasn't just about geography. It was about time itself, layers of history folded into one. Suddenly, the bell above the door jingled. My heart skipped. I wasn't alone. A figure stepped in, face hidden beneath a hood. They moved with purpose, eyes scanning the room. I grabbed the map, sliding it into my bag just as they approached. Looking for something? The voice was low, almost a whisper. I met their gaze, trying to steady my nerves. Maybe. Depends on who's asking. The figure smiled, but it didn't reach their eyes. The map chooses its keeper. And it's not done with you yet. Before I could respond, they turned and vanished into the stacks of books. I knew then this was only the beginning. I barely had time to catch my breath before I heard footsteps pounding behind me, fast, relentless. The bookstore's aisles twisted like a labyrinth, and I darted between towering shelves, clutching the map tight. My pursuer's heavy boots echoed, closing in with every second. I slammed into a dead end, heart racing. No way out. I spun around just as the hooded figure appeared, ice cold and unyielding. "Give me the map," they hissed. "No way," I shot back, backing up slowly. Suddenly, a crash from the front door. Another shadow slipped inside, blocking their path. A second pursuer? I didn't wait to find out. I bolted through a side door, bursting into the foggy night. The city was a maze of dark alleys and flickering streetlights. I could hear them behind me, 2 sets of footsteps now, closing fast. I ducked into a narrow alley, heart pounding like a drum. The map felt like it was burning through my jacket. I pressed the edges, trying to steady my shaking hands. Then, out of nowhere, a low growl echoed. A stray dog, eyes glowing in the dark, stepped into my path. I froze. The pursuers were almost upon me. But the dog didn't attack. Instead, it barked once, loud and sharp, then darted off down the alley. I took a chance and followed. The chase wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I followed the dog through twisting alleys and crumbling back streets, the fog thickening around us like a living thing. My pursuers' footsteps faded behind me, but I knew it was only a matter of time before they caught up again. The dog stopped suddenly in front of a rusted metal door, scratched and worn. It looked back at me, eyes gleaming with an almost knowing intelligence. I hesitated, then pushed the door open. Inside was a hidden room, walls lined with ancient books and strange artifacts. The air smelled of old paper and secrets. I spread the map out on a dusty table, the symbols glowing faintly under the dim light. Suddenly, a whisper filled the room, soft but urgent. The city waits for those who dare to find it, but beware the price. My heart pounded. This was no ordinary adventure. The map was alive, and so was the danger. Outside, footsteps echoed again. They were close. I grabbed the map, ready to run. The race was far from over. The map pulsed softly in my hands, like it was alive, breathing, waiting. I traced the glowing symbols again, and suddenly, the room seemed to shift. The walls faded, replaced by visions of a city unlike anything I'd ever seen. Towers spiraled into the sky, made of stone that shimmered like glass. Streets twisted and turned in impossible patterns, folding over themselves like a maze designed to trap the unwary. The air was thick with an ancient energy, humming with secrets long forgotten. I realized this wasn't just a place lost in space, it was lost in time. A city that existed between moments, hidden from the world by layers of reality. But why? And who built it? The whisper returned, colder this time. Only those who understand the price may enter. I swallowed hard. The price. What did that mean? Was I ready to pay it? Outside, the footsteps grew louder. The hunters were coming back. I had to move. The city was calling me, but it wasn't going to give up its secrets easily. This was more than a hunt. It was a test. And I was running out of time. I tucked the map safely into my bag, the weight of its secrets pressing down on me. The visions of that impossible city burned in my mind, a puzzle I had to solve. But the price, the warning, kept echoing. What was I risking? I slipped out of the hidden room just as the footsteps thundered closer. The fog swallowed me whole as I darted into the night, every shadow a potential threat. The city around me felt different now, like it was watching, waiting. I knew the lost city wasn't just a place. It was a challenge. A riddle wrapped in time itself. And if I wanted to find it, I had to be smarter, faster, and ready to face whatever price it demanded. Because this wasn't just about discovery anymore. It was about survival. I slipped through the foggy streets, every sense on high alert. The map's weight in my bag was a constant reminder this wasn't just a game. Shadows shifted at the edge of my vision, and I knew the hunters were closing in. Suddenly, a sharp noise, a metal clang, echoed behind me. I spun around just in time to see a figure lunging out of the darkness. No time to think, I dodged, feeling the rush of air as they missed by inches. I pushed forward, heart pounding, weaving through narrow alleys and leaping over debris. The city was a maze, but I had to use every trick I knew to stay ahead. Ahead, a dead end. I slammed into a brick wall, turning just as 2 more figures blocked my path. No way out. I reached into my bag, fingers brushing the map. Desperation gave me a wild idea. I pulled it out and slammed it onto the ground. The map flared, glowing bright, and the ground beneath us trembled. A hidden door creaked open in the wall, revealing a dark passage. Without hesitation, I dove in, the hunter's shouts fading behind me. The lost city was calling, and I was running straight into its heart. I landed hard inside the dark passage, the air thick with dust and the scent of ancient stone. The door slammed shut behind me, cutting off the sounds of the hunter's furious shouts. For a moment, silence heavy and complete. I fumbled for my phone, flicked on the flashlight, and the beam cut through the darkness, revealing walls covered in strange symbols and faded murals. The air hummed with a strange energy, like the city itself was alive, watching me. Every step echoed as I moved deeper, the passage twisting and turning like a serpent. I could feel the weight of centuries pressing down, secrets waiting to be uncovered. Then, ahead, a faint glow. I quickened my pace, heart pounding. The passage opened into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadows. In the center, a pedestal held an ancient artifact, a glowing orb pulsing with light. I reached out, fingers trembling. The moment I touched it, visions flooded my mind, flashes of the city's past, its rise and fall, and a warning: the price of knowledge is sacrifice. I pulled back, breath ragged. This city wasn't just lost in time, it was protected by forces beyond understanding. And I was only just beginning to uncover its mysteries. I barely scratched the surface of this lost city's secrets, and already I can feel its pull, stronger, darker, more dangerous than I ever imagined. Every step forward is a step deeper into a mystery that could change everything, or end it all. But one thing's for sure, I'm not turning back. Not now. Not ever. The real journey is just beginning.
Episode 2, Into the Depths.
They say curiosity killed the cat. Well, I'm no cat. And this curiosity? It's dragging me deeper into a place where time doesn't just bend, it breaks. The moment I stepped through that hidden door, the air changed. It was heavier, charged with something ancient and restless. The walls whispered secrets I couldn't yet understand, and the shadows seemed to move just beyond the edge of my vision. I had the map, the orb, and 1,000 questions burning in my mind. But no answers. Not yet. Every step echoed like a warning. The lost city wasn't just a place, it was a trap. And I was the prey. Then, from the darkness, a sudden sound, a low rumble, like the city itself was waking up. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the ground trembled beneath my feet. I wasn't alone down here. And whatever was coming, it wasn't friendly. I barely had time to steady myself before the rumbling grew louder, shaking the very ground beneath me. Stones tumbled from the ceiling, and the air filled with dust and the scent of ancient earth. My heart pounded in my chest like a war drum. Suddenly, from the shadows, shapes began to emerge, figures cloaked in darkness, their eyes glowing faintly with an eerie light. They moved silently but with purpose, guardians of this forgotten place. I gripped the orb tightly, its soft glow a small beacon in the oppressive darkness. I had no idea what these creatures were, but one thing was clear: they weren't here to welcome me. I darted down a narrow corridor, the sounds of pursuit echoing behind me. The map in my bag seemed to pulse, guiding me through the labyrinthine passages. Every turn brought new dangers, traps, shifting walls, and whispers that seemed to crawl into my mind. This city was alive, and it was testing me. But I wasn't about to give up. Not now. Because somewhere in this maze lay the answers I needed. And I was going to find them. Without warning, the ground beneath me gave way. One second I was sprinting through the dark corridor, the next I was falling, plummeting into a hidden pit shrouded in darkness. The air rushed past my ears as I tumbled, heart pounding in free fall. I landed hard on cold stone, the impact knocking the breath from my lungs. Groaning, I pushed myself up, eyes adjusting to the dim glow of bioluminescent fungi clinging to the walls. The pit was a cavern, vast and echoing, with no obvious way out. Above me, muffled shouts and footsteps echoed, my pursuers were still close. Panic surged, but I forced myself to think. This wasn't just a trap, it was a test. I scanned the cavern, spotting ancient carvings and strange mechanisms embedded in the rock. Maybe, just maybe, this was the key to escaping and unlocking the city's deeper secrets. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. The chase had changed, but the race wasn't over. I scanned the cavern walls, searching for anything that could help me climb out. My fingers brushed over rough stone, then a cold metal lever hidden behind a cluster of glowing mushrooms. I pulled it without hesitation. A low rumble echoed through the cavern as a section of the wall slid open, revealing a narrow, winding staircase spiraling upward. Relief surged through me, but I knew better than to celebrate yet. I sprinted toward the stairs, the faint glow from the fungi lighting my path. Behind me, the muffled sounds of my pursuers grew louder. They were closing in fast. Halfway up the stairs, the ground shook violently. Rocks tumbled from above, forcing me to dodge and weave. My heart pounded, every breath sharp and ragged. At the top, a heavy iron door barred my way. I slammed my shoulder against it, and it creaked open just enough for me to slip through. I burst into a dimly lit chamber filled with ancient machinery humming with power. The air was thick with electricity and mystery. I had escaped the pit, but the city's secrets were far from revealed, and the danger was far from over. The heavy iron door slammed shut behind me just as the first of my pursuers reached the top of the stairs. Their footsteps echoed ominously, growing louder, closer. I could hear their breath, sharp, determined, relentless. I darted deeper into the chamber, heart pounding like a drum. Ancient machinery hummed inward, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls. The air crackled with energy, thick with the weight of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall, cloaked silhouette with eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "You shouldn't have come here," the voice was cold, filled with menace. I tightened my grip on the map and orb, ready for whatever was coming. "I'm not leaving without answers." The figure stepped forward, and the chase was on again, through twisting corridors, hidden traps, and shifting walls that seemed to close in around me. Every step was a fight for survival. Every breath a race against time. Because in this lost city, the past and present collide, and only the strongest survive. I spotted a narrow vent high up on the wall, just big enough for me to squeeze through. Without hesitation, I sprinted toward it, the cloaked figure and their shadows closing in fast. I leapt, grabbing the edge, and hauled myself up just as a hand reached out to grab my ankle. The chase wasn't over, but I'd bought myself some time. Inside the vent, it was tight and dark, the air stale and thick. I crawled forward, every scrape and breath echoing louder than I wanted. Behind me, muffled curses and pounding footsteps told me they were right on my trail. The vent twisted and turned, leading me to a hidden chamber filled with ancient symbols glowing faintly on the walls. I pressed a symbol that matched one on the map, and a secret door slid open silently. I slipped through just as the vent's entrance was breached. Safe, for now. But the city's mysteries were far from solved, and the hunters weren't giving up. The hunters regrouped in the shadow corridors, their whispers sharp and urgent. The cloaked figure, clearly their leader, slammed a fist against the cold stone wall. "He's slipping through our fingers. We can't let him unlock the city's secrets." Around them, others nodded, eyes burning with determination. They spread out, sealing off exits and setting traps, turning the ancient city into a deadly maze. "We move at dawn," the leader declared. "No mistakes. The map must be ours." Back in the hidden chamber, I caught my breath, the weight of the map and orb heavier than ever. The city was alive, and now, so were my enemies. The real hunt was just beginning. The city's secrets are deeper than I ever imagined, and the hunters are more relentless than I feared. Every step I take pulls me further into a web of ancient mysteries and deadly dangers. The map and the orb are keys, but keys to what, exactly? And what price will I have to pay to unlock the truth? One thing's certain, I'm not alone in this fight. The hunters are closing in, and the lost city isn't done testing me yet. The real challenge is just beginning.
Episode 3, Secrets in the Shadows.
Every secret has a price. And in this city, the shadows hold more than just darkness, they hold the truth I'm desperate to find. The deeper I went, the more the city seemed to breathe around me. Walls whispered forgotten stories, and every corner hid a secret waiting to be uncovered. But with every discovery, the danger grew. The hunters weren't just chasing me, they were hunting the city's power itself. And I was caught in the middle. I had the map, the orb, and a growing sense that the lost city was more than just a place, it was a puzzle, a test, and maybe even a trap. But I wasn't about to give up. Not when the answers were so close. I moved cautiously through the winding corridors, the faint glow of the orb lighting my path. The air was thick with dust and the scent of ancient stone, but beneath it all, I could feel something else, an energy pulsing, alive and watching. Suddenly, a soft click echoed behind me. I spun around just in time to see a hidden panel slide open, revealing a narrow passageway. No time to hesitate, I slipped inside. The passage twisted and turned, leading me deeper into the heart of the city. Symbols lined the walls, glowing faintly, telling stories I couldn't yet understand. But one thing was clear, this place was built to protect something powerful. Then, a whisper, soft, almost a breath, "You're not ready." I froze. The voice was everywhere and nowhere, echoing through the stone. Was it a warning? A threat? Or something else? Before I could react, the ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the walls seemed to close in. I had to keep moving. The city was alive, and it wasn't done with me yet. I pressed forward, heart pounding as the passage opened into a vast chamber bathed in an eerie, pulsating light. At the center stood an ancient altar, covered in intricate carvings that seemed to shift and change as I looked at them. The orb in my hand resonated, its glow intensifying. I stepped closer, tracing the symbols with trembling fingers. Suddenly, the carvings began to move, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside lay a weathered journal, its pages filled with cryptic notes and sketches of the lost city, its history, its power, and a warning about the price of unlocking its secrets. As I flipped through the journal, a chilling realization hit me. This city wasn't just lost in time, it was deliberately hidden, protected by forces that would stop at nothing to keep its secrets buried. The hunters weren't just after the map or the orb, they wanted to control the city's power itself. I had to decide, keep digging deeper or run before it was too late. I barely had time to process the journal's warning when the chamber trembled violently. Dust and small stones rained from the ceiling as a deep, guttural roar echoed through the halls. The walls seemed to pulse with life, shadows twisting and stretching unnaturally. Suddenly, the floor beneath me cracked open, revealing a swirling vortex of light and darkness. I stumbled back, heart racing, as a figure emerged from the swirling depths, a guardian of the city, ancient and terrifying. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly fire, and its voice thundered in my mind, "You trespass where few dare to tread. Prove your worth, or be lost to time forever." I gripped the orb tighter, knowing this was no ordinary challenge. The lost city was alive, and it demanded a price. Without hesitation, I turned on my heel and bolted. The chamber seemed to close in around me as the guardian's roar echoed behind, shaking the very stones beneath my feet. My breath came in ragged gasps, heart pounding like a drum in a war zone. I sprinted through twisting corridors, the orb's glow flickering wildly in my hand. Shadows danced menacingly on the walls, and every step felt like a race against the city itself. The ground trembled beneath me, ancient mechanisms groaning to life, trying to trap me in their deadly embrace. Ahead, a narrow stairwell spiraled upward, a possible escape. I pushed myself harder, muscles burning, lungs screaming for air. The guardian's furious howls grew distant but never faded. Bursting through a heavy stone door, I found myself back in the labyrinthine passages, but the city's mysteries were far from over. I had escaped for now. I slowed just long enough to catch my breath, pressing my back against the cold stone wall. The orb's glow steadied in my hand, casting eerie shadows around me. I knew I couldn't keep running forever, the city was vast, but so were the dangers lurking in every corner. I pulled the map from my bag, spreading it out on the cracked floor. The lines and symbols seemed to pulse, almost guiding me towards something, maybe a hidden exit, or a secret chamber that could hold the answers I needed. With no time to waste, I made a decision. I would follow the map deeper into the city's heart, hoping to uncover a way to control the Guardian or at least understand what it wanted. Every step forward was a gamble, but standing still wasn't an option. The lost city was alive, and I was running out of time. As I moved deeper into the city's heart, a chilling silence fell over the corridors. The orb's glow dimmed, and an unnatural cold seeped into the air. Suddenly, the walls around me began to shift, stone slabs sliding silently, closing off my path. I was trapped. From the shadows, a low, menacing growl echoed. Shapes emerged, twisted, shadowy creatures with glowing eyes, their forms flickering like smoke. They circled me, closing in with slow, deliberate steps. The city wasn't just alive, it was defending itself. I gripped the orb tighter, ready for whatever came next. This was no longer just a race against time. It was a fight for survival. I scanned the chamber quickly, spotting a narrow crevice between two ancient pillars, just wide enough to slip through. As the shadowy creatures lunged, I dove toward the gap, squeezing my body through the tight space. Their snarls echoed behind me, but the narrow passage was a barrier they couldn't cross. I didn't stop running until I burst into a vast underground cavern, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and ancient secrets. The orb pulsed softly, guiding me forward. I knew the city was testing me, pushing me to my limits. But I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. The lost city held its mysteries close, but I was determined to uncover them all. The real challenge is just beginning.
Episode 4, The Heart of the Maze.
I've never been more ready for anything in my life. This city, its secrets, its dangers, they're all mine to face now. The cavern stretched out before me, a labyrinth of stone and shadow. Every step echoed with the weight of history, every breath tasted like the edge of discovery. The orb pulsed steadily, lighting the way deeper into the maze. I wasn't just chasing answers anymore. I was chasing survival, truth, and maybe even redemption. Because in this lost city, the heart of the maze beats with power, and I was about to find out if I was strong enough to face it. I stepped cautiously into the maze's heart, the walls closing in like the city itself was holding its breath. The orb's glow cast flickering shadows, revealing ancient symbols etched deep into the stone, warnings, or maybe clues. Every turn felt like a test. The air grew thick, charged with energy that made my skin tingle. I could hear faint whispers, voices from the past, or maybe from the city itself, guiding me or trying to mislead me. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath my feet. A hidden door slid open, revealing a chamber bathed in an eerie blue light. At its center stood a pedestal, holding a crystal pulsating with raw power. I knew this was it, the heart of the maze, the source of the city's secrets. But as I reached out, a voice echoed through the chamber, "To claim the power, you must face your greatest fear." My breath caught. The real challenge was just beginning. I took a deep breath, steeling myself as the chamber darkened around me. The crystal's glow dimmed, and suddenly, the shadows twisted into shapes, familiar faces, haunting memories, and worst of all, my own failures staring back at me. I saw moments I tried to forget, the times I hesitated, the people I couldn't save, the choices that led me here. The weight of it all pressed down like a suffocating fog. But I wasn't going to let my past define me. I clenched my fists, focusing on the orb's faint light. "I'm not afraid," I whispered. "Not anymore." The shadows wavered, then dissolved, and the crystal's light flared bright again, filling the chamber with warmth and power. I had faced my fear and survived. I reached out and touched the crystal, feeling a surge of energy course through me, raw, electric, and alive. The orb in my hand pulsed in sync, amplifying the power flowing into my veins. It was like I'd tapped into the heartbeat of the city itself. Suddenly, visions flashed before my eyes, fragments of the city's past, secrets hidden for centuries, and glimpses of the future waiting to be shaped. I could feel time bending around me, possibilities unfolding like a vast, intricate web. With this power, I wasn't just a visitor anymore. I was a part of the city's story, its guardian, its challenger. But with great power came great danger. The hunters outside weren't just after the map or the orb, they wanted this too. I had to move fast. The race against time was far from over. The chamber's newfound light barely held back the creeping shadows as distant echoes grew louder, footsteps pounding, voices sharp and urgent. The hunters were closing in, their presence like a storm on the horizon. I could feel the power thrumming through me, but adrenaline surged even stronger. There was no time to hesitate. I grabbed the orb and the map, heart racing, and sprinted toward a narrow passage barely visible in the glowing walls. Behind me, the hunters' shouts grew louder, their footsteps thundered like a relentless drumbeat. The city itself seemed to pulse with urgency, as if urging me to run faster, to survive. Every corner I turned, every shadow I passed, the chase tightened. But I wasn't just running, I was fighting to control the very flow of time itself. Because if they caught me now, everything would be lost. I twisted sharply down the narrow passage, the orb's light flickering wildly as the hunter's footsteps thundered closer. The walls seemed to close in, ancient stone shifting subtly, trying to trap me in this labyrinth. I darted through a crumbling archway, leaping over fallen debris, heart pounding like a drum. Behind me, the hunters shouted orders, their voices echoing off the stone. Ahead, a sudden drop, a chasm splitting the floor. No time to hesitate. I sprinted, launching myself across the gap, landing hard but steady on the other side. The hunters skidded to a halt, snarling in frustration. I didn't look back. The city's secrets were still out there, waiting. And so was my chance to survive. I slipped through a narrow crevice hidden behind a crumbling wall, the sounds of the chase fading behind me. The air grew cooler, tinged with the scent of damp earth and ancient stone. I found myself in a vast underground cavern, illuminated by glowing crystals embedded in the walls. The silence was almost deafening after the chaos of the chase. I took a moment to catch my breath, the orb's soft glow pulsing steadily in my hand. This place felt different, like the city's heart, its soul, was laid bare here. But I knew better than to trust the calm. The lost city was full of surprises, and I wasn't out of danger yet. Ahead, a narrow tunnel beckoned, shadows dancing at its entrance. I tightened my grip on the orb and stepped forward. The real journey was just beginning. I stepped into the tunnel, the glowing crystals behind me casting long, flickering shadows. The air grew colder, and a faint hum filled the silence like a heartbeat echoing through the stone. As I moved deeper, the walls began to shift, revealing strange symbols that pulsed with an otherworldly light. They weren't just decorations, they were a language, a code waiting to be deciphered. Suddenly, the tunnel opened into a circular chamber. At its center floated a translucent orb, swirling with mist and light. It felt alive, watching me. A voice echoed softly in my mind, "Welcome, Seeker. To proceed, you must answer the city's riddle." My pulse quickened. This was no ordinary challenge. The lost city was testing me again. I braced myself. The riddle was coming. I froze, the weight of the voice pressing down on me like a physical force. My mind raced, searching for answers in the swirling mist of the orb. A riddle from a city lost in time, this was beyond anything I'd faced before. "All right," I whispered to myself, trying to steady my breath. "Bring it on." There was no turning back now. Every step I took had led me here, to this moment. The city was alive, and it wanted me to prove I belonged. I squared my shoulders, ready to face whatever challenge came next. The orb's mist swirled faster, and the voice spoke again, clear and resonant. "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have nobody, but I come alive with the wind. What am I?" The chamber seemed to hold its breath, waiting for my answer. The riddle echoed in my mind, twisting and turning like the labyrinth I'd been running through. I knew this was more than a test of wit, it was a key, a gatekeeper to the city's deepest secrets. I closed my eyes, letting the riddle echo in my mind. "Speak without a mouth, hear without ears." I repeated the words slowly, searching for meaning beyond the obvious. What could it be? Something that communicates but has no body. Something that listens but has no ears. And it comes alive with the wind. An echo? No, that was too simple. But maybe not. An echo fits, it's a sound that repeats without a mouth or ears, and it needs air to travel. But what if it's something else? A whisper? A shadow? The city itself? I weighed each possibility, the pressure mounting. This wasn't just a game. the answer could unlock the next step or trap me forever. I took a deep breath, ready to speak my answer. The riddle hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. My mind raced through every possibility, every shadow and whisper that could fit the clues. But the answer, whatever it was, felt just out of reach, teasing me with its mystery. I knew I couldn't rush it. This city demanded patience, wit, and courage. I had to be ready. So I took a step back, letting the silence settle around me. The orb's glow softened, as if waiting alongside me. The real test was coming. And when it did, I had to be ready to face it head-on.
Episode 5, The Answer and the Awakening.
The moment had come. The riddle's answer was more than just words. It was the key to everything. The chamber was silent, the orb's mist swirling gently as I prepared to speak. Every heartbeat echoed like thunder in my ears. I knew this answer could change everything, unlock secrets, or unleash dangers I couldn't yet imagine. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. The lost city was watching, waiting for me to prove I belonged. This was the moment of truth. I stepped forward, voice steady despite the storm of thoughts swirling inside me. "An echo," I said. The orb's mist swirled violently for a moment, then calmed, bathing the chamber in a warm, golden light. The walls trembled, ancient mechanisms groaning to life. A hidden door slid open, revealing a staircase spiraling downward into darkness. The city had accepted my answer. But this was just the beginning. I gripped the orb tighter, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As I descended the spiraling staircase, the air grew colder, heavier, like the weight of centuries pressing down on me. The golden light from above faded, replaced by a faint, eerie glow emanating from strange crystals embedded in the walls. At the bottom, I stepped into a vast chamber filled with shifting shadows and whispering voices. The floor beneath me began to tremble, and from the darkness emerged a towering figure, an ancient guardian forged from stone and light, its eyes burning with an unyielding fire. It spoke without words, its presence demanding a challenge beyond mere riddles, a test of strength, wit, and will. I tightened my grip on the orb, heart pounding. This was no ordinary trial. The lost city was pushing me to my limits. And I had no choice but to face it head-on. I studied the towering guardian, its eyes blazing with ancient fire, every movement deliberate and powerful. Charging headfirst would be suicide. I needed a plan. The orb pulsed in my hand, resonating with the crystals embedded in the chamber walls. An idea sparked. If I could harness the orb's energy to disrupt the guardian's power source, I might stand a chance. I darted toward one of the glowing crystals, dodging the guardian's sweeping arm. Channeling the orb's energy, I focused a beam of light onto the crystal. It flared brightly, sending a shockwave through the chamber. The guardian staggered, its fiery eyes flickering. Seizing the moment, I moved quickly, targeting the other crystals, one by one, each pulse weakening the ancient sentinel. With a final surge, the guardian's form cracked and shattered, collapsing into a pile of glowing fragments. Breathing hard, I knew this victory was just a step forward. The city's secrets were still buried deep, but I had proven I could face its greatest challenges. I took a moment to steady my breath, the echoes of the shattered guardian fading into silence. The chamber before me was vast, its walls adorned with ancient murals depicting the rise and fall of the lost city. Each image seemed to pulse with life, telling stories older than time itself. The orb's glow illuminated a narrow passageway leading deeper underground. I knew this path held the answers I'd been searching for, the heart of the city's mystery. With cautious steps, I moved forward, every sense alert. The air grew cooler, and a faint hum resonated through the stone. The city wasn't done revealing its secrets. As I ventured further, I felt the weight of history pressing down, but also a strange sense of purpose. This was more than a discovery, it was a journey into the soul of a forgotten world. I followed the narrow passage until it opened into a hidden chamber, concealed behind a wall of ancient stone. The air inside was thick with dust and the scent of forgotten memories. Flickering torchlight revealed shelves lined with weathered scrolls, strange artifacts, and a massive stone tablet etched with symbols that seemed to glow faintly. I stepped closer, heart pounding, and traced the carvings with my fingers. The tablet told a story, a prophecy about the lost city, its power, and a chosen one who would either save or doom it. As I absorbed the words, a sudden chill swept through the room. The door behind me creaked shut, and the chamber plunged into darkness. The city was testing me again. I spun around as the door slammed shut, my breath catching in my throat. Darkness swallowed the chamber, and the faint glow from the tablet dimmed to near nothing. Panic threatened to rise, but I forced it down. This city thrived on fear. I couldn't give it that power. Fumbling in the dark, I reached for the orb. Its soft light flickered on, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls. I took a deep breath, steadying my nerves. "All right, city," I muttered, "let's see what you've got." Suddenly, the floor beneath me shifted. Stone tiles slid apart, revealing a pit filled with swirling mist. I stumbled back just in time, heart pounding. The chamber was a trap, a test of wit and reflex. I scanned the room quickly, searching for a way across. Ancient mechanisms clicked and whirred, and I realized I had to activate a sequence of symbols on the walls to open a safe path. Time was running out. The mist was rising. I took a deep breath, focusing on the symbols etched into the walls. Each one glowed faintly, pulsing in a rhythm that felt like a code waiting to be cracked. I traced my fingers over the carvings, trying to find a pattern. The tablet's prophecy echoed in my mind, words about balance, light, and shadow. Maybe the sequence was tied to those themes. I pressed the symbols in what I hoped was the right order: light, shadow, balance, then light again. The chamber hummed, and a section of the floor shifted, revealing a solid path across the misty pit. Relief washed over me, but I knew better than to let my guard down. The city was full of surprises, and this was just one of many. I stepped forward, ready for whatever came next. I stepped onto the newly revealed path, the stone solid beneath my feet but slick with age. Halfway across, a sudden rumble shook the chamber. From the shadows ahead, a figure emerged, another seeker, or maybe one of the hunters. Our eyes locked, tension crackling in the stale air. Neither of us spoke, but the unspoken challenge was clear: only one of us would leave this place alive. I tightened my grip on the orb, ready for whatever came next. The air between us thickened, heavy with unspoken threats. Neither of us moved, each waiting for the other to make the first move. The chamber's silence was deafening, broken only by the distant drip of water echoing off the stone walls. I could feel my pulse quicken, every muscle tense, ready to react. The orb's glow flickered faintly, as if sensing the danger. We were trapped in a standoff, no clear way forward, no easy escape. The path behind me had already sealed shut, and ahead, the figure's eyes burned with determination. Time stretched, every second a test of wills. The standoff held its breath, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Trapped between shadows and secrets, I realized this lost city wasn't just a place, it was a living challenge, testing every part of me. The path forward was uncertain, the dangers ever present, but I knew one thing for sure: I couldn't turn back now. With the orb's faint glow lighting the way, I steeled myself for whatever came next. The real battle was just beginning.
Episode 6: Shadows and Secrets.
Every step I take, the city's grip tightens. Shadows whisper truths and lies, and every secret uncovered feels like a trap closing in. The chamber behind me sealed shut, leaving only the narrow path ahead. The figure from before watched me with cold eyes, their intentions unclear. The orb pulsed softly in my hand, a fragile beacon in the encroaching darkness. I knew the city wasn't done with me yet. Every corner held a new secret, every shadow a hidden danger. But I was ready. Or at least, I had to be. I took a cautious step forward, the orb's glow casting flickering light on the rough stone walls. The figure mirrored my movement, their eyes never leaving mine. Neither of us spoke, words felt useless in this charged silence. As we moved deeper into the chamber, the air grew colder, and whispers seemed to swirl around us, voices from the past or perhaps the city itself. The walls pulsed faintly, as if alive, reacting to our presence. Suddenly, the floor beneath us shifted. Panels slid open, revealing a series of narrow ledges suspended over a bottomless abyss. The only way forward was to cross them, one misstep meant a deadly fall. The figure glanced at me, a silent challenge in their gaze. I swallowed hard, steeling myself. This was more than a test of courage, it was a test of trust. I glanced at the figure, weighing my options. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford, but neither was going it alone. I nodded slowly, signaling a tentative truce. "We'll cross together," I said, voice steady despite the tension. They hesitated, then extended a hand. As we stepped onto the first ledge, the narrow path tested our balance and nerves. One misstep could mean the end. We moved carefully, side by side, the silence between us filled only by the sound of our footsteps and the distant echoes of the city. Halfway across, the ledge trembled beneath us. I grabbed the figure's arm, steadying both of us. "Keep moving," I urged. Finally, we reached solid ground. The figure gave a curt nod, and for a moment, the unspoken barrier between us softened. But the city wasn't done with its tests yet. No sooner had we caught our breath than a low, menacing growl echoed through the chamber. From the shadows emerged a massive creature, its eyes glowing with a fierce, unnatural light, muscles rippling beneath thick, stone-like skin. The ground trembled as it advanced, blocking any chance of retreat. The figure beside me tensed, readying for a fight, but I knew brute force wouldn't be enough. The city was throwing everything it had at us. I tightened my grip on the orb, feeling its power surge in response. This was no longer just a test of trust or courage, it was a battle for survival. I quickly scanned the chamber, searching for anything that could give us an edge. The creature's heavy footsteps shook the ground, closing in fast. Brute force wasn't an option, we needed a plan. Spotting a series of ancient pillars lining the room, I whispered to my companion, "If we can lure it between those pillars, maybe we can trap it." We moved cautiously, baiting the creature with quick movements and shouts. It charged, smashing into the first pillar with a deafening crash. The structure trembled but held. As it turned to follow us, we darted between the pillars, leading it into a narrow corridor where its size became a disadvantage. The walls closed in tight, and the creature's furious roars echoed as it struggled to maneuver. We slipped past, hearts pounding, and raced toward the next chamber. The city's dangers were relentless, but so was I. The creature's frustrated roars echoed behind us as we sprinted through the winding corridors. Its heavy footsteps pounded the stone floor, relentless and unyielding. I could feel the heat of its breath, the weight of its fury driving it forward. We darted through narrow passages, the orb's glow flickering wildly, casting long shadows that danced like ghosts on the walls. Every turn was a gamble, one wrong move, and the creature would catch us. But I wasn't about to let it end here. I glanced at my companion, determination burning in my eyes. We had to stay ahead, find a way to outsmart this beast or be swallowed by the city's darkness forever. As we rounded a sharp corner, the floor beneath us suddenly gave way. One moment my feet were steady on solid stone, the next, I was plunging into darkness. I barely had time to react before I hit the cold, damp ground below with a heavy thud. My companion's startled shout echoed above me, but I was trapped in a hidden pit, ancient spikes glinting menacingly in the faint light. The creature's furious roar reverberated through the chamber, its footsteps pounding closer. I scrambled to my feet, heart racing. The city's traps were as deadly as its guardians. There was no time to waste. I scrambled to my feet, the cold stone biting into my palms as I searched frantically for a way out of the pit. The spikes below gleamed like silent sentinels, a deadly reminder that one wrong move could be my last. Above me, the faint glow of the orb barely pierced the darkness, but it was enough to guide my trembling hands. The creature's roars echoed through the chamber, growing louder, more furious. Its heavy footsteps shook the ground around the pit, a relentless reminder that time was running out. I knew I couldn't stay here, not with that beast hunting me. I scanned the walls, fingers tracing the rough stone, looking for any irregularity. My heart leapt when I found a narrow ledge, just wide enough to grip. Pulling myself up inch by inch, muscles burning, I fought against the rising panic. Halfway up, a loose stone shifted beneath my weight. I froze, breath caught in my throat. The creature's roar echoed again, closer this time. Summoning every ounce of strength, I pushed past the fear and scrambled onto the ledge. From there, I spotted a series of ancient handholds carved into the wall, an escape route, hidden in plain sight. Climbing carefully, I made my way up, the orb's glow steadying my nerves. Finally, I reached the top and hauled myself over the edge, collapsing onto solid ground. The pit was behind me, but the danger wasn't over. I could hear the creature's frustrated growls fading as I disappeared into the labyrinthine corridors once more. The city was relentless, but so was I. The lost city's final secrets awaited. The ultimate challenge was near.
Episode 7, The Final Trial.
Every step, every choice, every danger has led me here. The city's heart beats before me, and this is the moment that will decide everything. The corridors narrowed, the air thick with anticipation. The orb pulsed in my hand, its light steady but intense, as if warning me of what lay ahead. The walls whispered secrets, and shadows danced like ghosts of the past. I knew the final trial wasn't just a test of strength or wit, it was a reckoning. The city demanded a price, and I was ready to pay it. No turning back now. I stepped forward, every sense alert as the passage opened into a vast chamber unlike any I'd seen before. The air was thick with ancient power, humming with energy that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. At the center stood a massive stone altar, covered in glowing runes that pulsed in rhythm with the orb in my hand. As I approached, the ground trembled, and a voice echoed through the chamber, deep, resonant, and filled with authority. Only the worthy may claim the city's secret. Prove your heart is true, or be lost to time forever. The wall shifted, revealing 3 paths ahead, each shrouded in mist and mystery. I knew this was the final choice, the ultimate test. I took a deep breath, steadying my nerves. The fate of the city, and maybe more, rested on what I did next. I had reached the end of my journey. Deep within the lost city, amidst time and mystery, this adventure had tested everything that made me who I am. I had started with just a map and curiosity. Now, in my hands, I held the key to the power at the heart of the city. Before me stretched 3 mysterious paths, each holding a different fate, a different secret. I took a deep breath, feeling fear and hope intertwined as I stepped forward. My choice would determine not only my destiny but that of the city and perhaps time itself. As I moved forward, the city's energy coursed through me. Time's flow bent and twisted, past and future intertwining. The challenges I faced, the riddles I solved, the dangers I escaped all had strengthened me. It was no longer just about survival, it was about wielding this power wisely. At last, I reached the city's deepest chamber. There, a glowing crystal, the essence of time and life, awaited. I reached out, feeling its warmth seep into me. In that moment, I understood that true power wasn't control, but balance. The city's secrets unfolded, past pains and future hopes merged. Darkness and light, fear and courage all became one. And I became part of that unity. When I emerged, the sun was rising on the horizon. A new day, a new beginning. The lost city was no longer just a legend, it was part of my story. Everything was beautiful. Because the greatest adventure was discovering myself.